opinion, the reality is it's not over out there in DC either. In terms of getting a budget together. So
Oh yeah, just because NACO and everybody's working on this doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right, and so, for example, I think whereas county roads in the past received somewhere in the vicinity of $1.3 million per year during the beginning of this cycle, they're down below $500,000 a year at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Notice we did you have something you wanted to.
Yeah.
Notice we have one of the leaders in child protection development and a member of our health department. What is his name? And Andrew, is there something you'd like to say before we take a look at this proclamation?
I just want to thank you for your continued support of the Our Kids, Our Business campaign, as well as your ability to look at the need for healthy children, healthy communities, and for healthy families, and ultimately a healthy community. So I thank you for that, and the organizers of Our Kids, Our Business, thank you for that as well.
Thanks for your work, Ann.
No problem.
About 2 weeks ago in New Yorker magazine, there was a very interesting article on a pediatrician in Hunters Point, south of San Francisco, who does remarkable work with kids who are generally in an impoverished area. And she's doing research on what they call ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences. And our own health department sponsored a couple of hearings and classes and seminars on ACEs. It's pretty interesting. The research shows that kids who experience adverse childhood experiences end up having physical problems in their adulthood in ways that wouldn't seem particularly predictable. Cardiovascular, diabetes, and other physical problems. And it's kind of like the Head Start programs in the 60s. There's a suggestion that if we invest money and time and resources into creating positive, healthy experiences for kids, it's going to pay off in years that follow. And, I know we've had members of the public who come here speak passionately to this. We certainly agree with it. There's a proclamation, if anyone would care to move that we accept it.
You mentioned the correlation. Correlation often leads to research that ends up finding causes or treatments, interventions that help in these situations. So it's been really important. It's just a really important time to really pay attention to this too. I think when we're talking about that in Olympia, the trade-offs that they're making, taking care of people and immediate needs now versus preparing for the future and building what we need and creating jobs to do that, and just the tough choices they have right now. And probably nowhere does it come to the forefront any more than when it comes to children that are vulnerable. So, yeah, I'd be happy to move the proclamation for recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of the motion to approve the proclamation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I will read the proclamation. Whereas every child deserves to be cared for in a safe and nurturing environment, and whereas safe and healthy childhoods help produce confident and successful adults, and whereas child abuse and neglect often occur when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and not knowing how to cope, and whereas the majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable in an engaged and supportive community, and whereas Child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure every family in Jefferson County has the support they need and deserve to raise their children in a healthy environment. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and business communities. And whereas the citizens of Jefferson County are invited to become involved in supporting families in raising their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And whereas no one person can do everything, but everyone can do something, and together we can create change for the better. And whereas we encourage all citizens of Jefferson County to sign the 2011 Call to Action Pledge, and whereas displaying a pinwheel in April will serve as a positive reminder that together we can prevent child abuse and keep children safe. Now therefore be it resolved, the Jefferson County Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2011 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we ask all citizens to continue the work of preventing child abuse in Jefferson County, and we ask all citizens to join us in observing this occasion, proclaimed this 4th day of April 2011. Thank you, and thanks, Ann.
Thank you, Ann. And I left a message that I won't be at the meeting again. I'm on this committee, but during legislative period, I am gone on Wednesdays. But starting next month, I will be here again.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Philip,
Yes, sir.
something to present us this morning, or?
Just a couple of items, Commissioners. One is to note that you have a number of community meetings upcoming this month and next. And there'll be notice in this week's leader, I believe, for these meetings. On April 14, which is a Thursday, you'll be at Cape George, at the Cape George Fire Hall, starting at 7 p.m. On April 27, you'll be at the Brennan Community Center. And on May 4th, you'll be at the Coyle Community Center. And we are still working on nailing down a date and location for a commissioner community meeting on the West End, potentially at the Hoh Tribal Center, either in late May or most likely the first half of June.
Right. What date was the first meeting?
Is the 14th of April. So for those who are late on getting their taxes prepared, you won't have that.
Okay.
And it's clear that of course, as all our meetings are, this is open to the public, and they're all invited to come. I assume that everyone will know where the meeting will be in Cape George.
At Cape George, it is at the Cape George Fire Hall.
Okay.
And a couple of other, so yes, definitely citizens are encouraged and invited to attend, and that's the reason we hold these meetings. And we're also inviting other independent elected officials from the county to attend. Don't know how many will be there, but they certainly are encouraged and invited to attend as they have prior meetings. A couple of other things. It is likely that next week we'll have the material for the commissioners to be able to continue your deliberations on how to respond to the State Department of Ecology's guidance on the Shoreline Master Program. And so would anticipate that will be on next week's agenda in the morning for continued discussion and dialogue. The focus of the commissioners has been all of the comments from ecology, but particularly the net pen issue and its relation to aquaculture. So I would anticipate that continued discussion by commissioners on that, as well as the other items in ecology's letter to you. Also, Commissioner Johnson noted the work to try to secure continued funding of for the courthouse roof stabilization project, as well as other heritage courthouse projects throughout the county. And we are still moving forward with permitting, and as part of that, holding a community meeting with the neighbors of the community. This would be done by the project manager, Gordon Ramstrom, and I believe it is next week that he's looking at a date for meeting with the neighbors as part of looking at any permit conditions that we want to build in with the city, operating hours, noise, things of that nature. So we want to be a good neighbor and meet with the neighbors as we're getting ready. And then if there are any specific items about how the project is conducted, want to fold that into the request for proposals so any bidder is aware of that. So that work is continuing.
That was real helpful when we did the clock tower, because then they got an explanation of what some of the court's needs were for quiet during some periods of time, and balancing those with the neighbors' request not to work too late in the evenings during the summer, or interfering with too many weekends. And so it was a good chance to talk through those issues and understand.
Yeah, and because of the location of both Superior and District Court, and the location of the work, which is more concentrated over the Superior Court area, we are having to be mindful of trying to start the workday later so as not to impact the morning proceedings in the court and really get started in the afternoon. So that does push hours of operation most likely later and till after 5 o'clock. And also we're looking at Saturdays as likely work days as well, again, to try to not impact the business of the courts. So that'll be part of the discussion with community members next week. And I think that was the main things that I had for today.
I'd just say thanks for being proactive this time. Thanks to Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's all right.
You know, I know that it's been recommended by various citizens that this place is a dangerous, this building's a dangerous one to inhabit, and you should move off some other place. And one thing I noticed is almost every weekend when I'm here, there's always some who are coming to look at the building. It's a real tourist draw. A couple of weeks ago, someone who was a province commissioner from Holland was here and was really excited when I gave her a quick tour. And it's something we can all be proud of.
Yeah, I give a lot of Saturday and Sunday tours when I'm here on weekends, and see people, there are people continually out here taking pictures and snooping around, and they're pretty surprised when I open the door and say, "You want a tour?"
You don't charge very much, do you?
I don't know what your rate is, but
I always like to point out too, because I find that happening, how asymmetrical this building is.
Yeah.
How you can see, one window on this side, it looks like it ought to be similar to that one, but it isn't. One tower is different.